camper or small travel trailer, or a different utility trailer that somebody uses to transport their lawnmower or their grass to the dump site. You know, we've got trailers parked, residential home trailers parked throughout town regularly, especially during the summer months. So I mean, it's how do you give a contractor permission and say, oh, you can park there for 30 days?
With a permit, here, can I?
Yep, go for it.
With a permit, because I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna sit in the contractor's shoes now and say, you tell me why my neighbor can leave his camper on the street, and we've got this ordinance, so the neighbor goes out, and every 3 days, he moves it 2 feet.
I know.
So that's total BS.
I agree.
I'm a contractor.
Correct, I agree.
I'm not real happy about that.
No, I agree 100%.
So we need to get rid of that bit about you gotta move it 2 feet.
Yeah, and I have to agree because, you know, that's really makes the...
I say they have to be hooked up to a vehicle, period.
Right,
That was my whole thing. If it's hooked to a vehicle, at least in an emergency, if we had to move
Right.
it, we gotta fight the chance.
Yep.
Also.
That's where I'd be.
Yeah, I agree with you, Clark, I really do.
I think it's pretty wonderful that the radio and the newspaper got a story. Because we had nothing on the council.
We didn't.
And now they got a full day that they can write a story. Make sure they use Greg's cell phone number, not mine.
Which I did not put out over the air.
I do have one question though.
Yep.
The word mayor wasn't mentioned at all.
So, you know, I'm sure this topic could be discussed at length. But anyway, that's what was proposed for a couple of additions of words.
Yeah, but you gotta see what the.
In the event you do get some phone calls.
Yeah.
Just wanted you guys to be aware.
Yeah, so keep in mind, yes, back, just to close it out, because it's, in those instances, there's instances where we do allow it, especially the garbage, the roll-offs, downtown, business district here. There is no private property, so we've allowed them in the past and probably and will in the future to put them, to take up some parking spaces.
No problem.
So,
Yep.
I understand where you have to do it. That's, if you're remodeling a building, you got no choice.
And they're not in the
Right.
travel portion.
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right,
Good luck.
thank you, council.
Deb and Danny, you got that all down? All right, moving on. By the way, Greg, that was a nice report that you put together.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I didn't even figure it out, so
Thank you.
very nice. Okay, moving on to the city administrator, Jason.
I don't have anything. We've only got 2 active projects going, and that's CWC, which is wrapping up this month, and the well 14. I don't know how much they've been there lately, but those are the 2 active ones.
Okay.
And we start some great budget meetings soon.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Anything else, Jason?
No.
Any other questions for
I
Jason?
got a question for,
Yeah.
and maybe Greg hinted at this, maybe not, but this process, I'm the new guy, so I don't know how this process of total code review or budget report, is this gonna come to us lock, stock, and barrel, or is it item by item by item, change by change, or how is?
You'll be, what you should have, is whether it's highlighted or outlined or whatever, all the new changes. And we'll go through,
Kind of like the fees thing, more or less.
yeah, we'll go through 3 meetings of it. The first meeting will probably be the longest because you probably have the most questions. That's basically the process. I mean, so you have your old copy, I'm assuming? You were given one of those or not?
It's on the website. I'll have to check with my foolproof file system.
You know, and some of the changes are so minor, and I'll just use this as an example. So much of the wording in certain areas, had city engineer in the code of ordinance. Well, we haven't had a city engineer for a long time. So we changed the wording of that and just left it at the city and/or the city administrator. So some of the changes are minor, very minor, but yet there's other areas that does get a little bit more, I guess, drawn out.
When do you propose to have the first meeting?
You know, I almost stay like in weekly contact with Iowa Codifications, but I haven't contacted them at all yet this week. So I don't even seriously know where they are at as far as getting the finalized.
But everything that they've got everything they need now.
They have everything they need right now, so
It's up to them.
it's in their hands to get the new code of ordinances written up and presented to us for review.
Do they
Yeah, I
have
think
a
theirs will be-
Do they have a deadline of some kind, or
No,
they take as long as they want?
they can really, but they won't. Usually it's a couple-month process, 2 to 3 month process. By Iowa law, and and Chase and I have talked about this, we're gonna change some things a little bit on how we do things. By Iowa law, we have to codify our ordinances every 5 years, which we have done consistently for probably as long as Jason remembers. He was more involved in it than I was. But the couple of other options is to have it codified yearly. Something Jason and I are going to do is we're going to enlist Iowa Codifications. It's really a minimal fee, that when we do a new ordinance, say for instance today, if we passed an ordinance and it went through the publication process, once that ordinance becomes law within the city, I will forward the signed copy of that ordinance to Iowa Codifications. They will add that to our book. They will send out copies that I can distribute to all of you, along with all the department heads. You can take the old copy out, put the new one in, and they're gonna maintain our Iowa code section on our website. So we won't have to go through a codification process every 5 years, because it's gonna be basically done on an as-needed basis, whether that's a couple times a month or just a couple times a year, however often we pass a new ordinance or make an ordinance change.
Yeah, the downside to that, I mean, the upside is we better maintain a current code of ordinance book. But that only happens if, when the new ordinances are distributed, that person physically puts it in their book.
Correct.
But the upside is a more current. The downside is just that. If somebody doesn't physically replace pages, then you don't know where the heck you're at.
The website is key.
Yeah, that'll help.
I wouldn't even keep a book if the
Yeah.
website were accurate.
That'll keep it, because we've had occasional instances where I looked on your website and it says this. Well,
Right.
we changed the ordinance 3 years ago.
Right.
But we never updated the website, so.
But I think it will have, positive results by enlisting Iowa Codifications just throughout the year.
Yes, yeah, so they should be getting us I
Yep.
think what we will be getting first and what you will see first, you could call it a draft,
Correct.
because we still have 3 meetings in there where, as a council, with public input, you can tweak it and change things. It's not final until that 3rd reading.
Correct.
So it's really a draft up until then.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks a lot, Greg.
One more
Oh, yeah.
question for Jason. The sanitary line that they're putting on out to the new well site, I had a talk with Ron. I needed my sinuses cleared out, so I went down and visited with him. But he indicates that they're pulling that frozen ground out, which is what you expect to happen. But they're supposed to do something with that frozen ground before they drop it back in. And I think we should get, it's not Boltman or Mink, it's, who's the engineer?
McClure.
Okay, I think we need to have them on notice that they're gonna be responsible for that, because that's down there, and the water line's gonna be above there eventually, and if they crack one of those,
Yeah, what was supposed to happen, now I can verify if it's happened or not, because it was discussed at the pre-construction meeting, because that's when we were made aware of when Sioux City Engineering was gonna start their portion of the project, that frost would become an issue. So what they were supposed to do, the top layer that has frost in gets set aside, and the majority of the ditch is backfilled with non-frost, or frost-free material, and that frost material gets placed on the top. So if they need to come back in the spring and redo that top, they would do it that way. So if they're using that frost material down low, they shouldn't be doing that.
well, I guess my question is, if Ron's been out there and was not satisfied that it was being done properly, and as some of these projects happen, they're supposed to have an engineer out there checking that on them. I don't know if they have to be out there daily, but,
Well, McClure's supposed to be there daily.
yeah. And give them a little notice.
So what was the name of the contractor, Jason?
Sioux City Engineering.
Sioux City Engineering.
Enough said. Yeah.
I know what you're thinking.
Enough said.
I know what you're thinking.
I didn't say it.
Fourth Avenue.
Fourth Avenue was all slid all the way down to Highway 3.
So I can get a hold of McClure, Ken, because that was also talked about at that pre-construction meeting,
Yeah.
that McClure would have somebody there on site every minute they were working.
It'd be a lot cheaper for them to bring in, fill.
We got a Brentwood mill going on about 6 miles the other way.
Anything else for Jason?
No.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to Jacob.
The only thing I have today is, you got the revised budget schedule. The main change was we were gonna start on the 6th with committee meetings, and we just moved all the community service committee meetings to the 12th. So, other than that, starting on Thursday, we start with the budget committee meetings. Go from there.
Any questions on the budget?
Rock and roll.
Okay,
Best favorite time of year.
Motion to adjourn, second.
motion made to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.